Welcome, everyone. It's that time of week, of day. Again, it's Wednesday, 10 a.m. Eastern Time, and I'm here with my lovely two beings, the Diana Venskita Landborg and Swati Rohatgi, who've been here since the beginning of this beautiful venture of sharing with heart, where we hold these open conversations, where we are embracing just who we truly are on the inside. My name is Raditya Lazari. I am for Mindful Being, and I'm creating the space to enhance your life, to embrace yourself, and to really see where are you holding back, where are you resisting, and where are you welcoming peace, equanimity, and joy into your life, so we can really be present with what is and just see what's ahead of us, and also see what was behind us and bring it into the present moment. And what can we do right now? Because one thing is clear: when we talk about trust, it's all about letting it go and just know that it will all work out in the end. And there is the saying, if it's not the end, or if it doesn't work out, then it's not the end. So there you have it, right? So just keep moving forward. So this month we met once before. We talked about fear. That was 2 weeks ago. And actually this whole entire month was about expectations. And so all these previous weeks led up to today is really to how do we deal with expectations? Because when we start in January, in the first week, I was talking about beliefs. I was talking about how do we actually see ourselves in the world that we're in? What do we believe to be true? And what are the beliefs that we wish were not true? Because there's always something that we want to believe in, and then hopefully they're not true. And so we're working through that. And with those parts, there is fear coming up. It's fear that those parts remain true and they are who we are, and that's not what we want to be. And then there are fears that we discussed in this group about things that happened in the past that remain with us. And we were all even talking about ancestors, right? Like things that our grandparents and great-great-grandparents were afraid of that were given to our parents in the end. And we carry that fear that has nothing to do with today's fear, and yet we are still expressing fear today. And so then we were talking about uncertainty last week. And what it is that once you have fear, there is this uncertainty that we're stepping into. Are we able to just say, okay, I have fear, and now what? There is this expectation on, like, it has to be a certain way. We have to be functioning a certain way. And now it's not, like, we don't know, right? And that's where fear and uncertainty really are become friends, because and the expectation really like cover us up. And so here we are in our last week of January, where we just have to tell ourselves and repeat ourselves. And I was just mentioning to Diana, I was doing some work earlier. I was like, I gotta trust it's all gonna work out, time wise and work wise. It's just gonna work out. And this is the same thing as a belief. These are things that we can tell ourselves to start believing. And there's a conversation I was in yesterday where it was about, like, what are you joyful for? What are you doing for fun? And there was this conversation about, like, why are we always so attached to these negative thoughts? Why are we always holding on to like fear and like these things that don't work out, and how terrible am I, and why am I like this, and why can't I do like this? It's because we're wired like this. Our brains, they just see those things as a threat. They tell us, hey, pay attention, these are the things that are you have to work on, these are the things you have to be careful about. Because way back when you were in the forest, you had to be careful. You had to be worried and like really pay attention and curious. Is like, is there gonna be something in the woods that might take away my life, right? That was a fear we had back then. And today our brains are still wired like this. So the one thing we can do is to really rewire our animal brain, or the the word just doesn't come to mind, and to the brain that we have today, to this more advanced, more accessible way of thinking. And so I think for me, at least, and that's where trust really comes in, and that I think is really relevant, is we can then change the survival brain, thank you, Swati, to really switch it around and be this person that we are today in the world we're living in today. There is no survival happening right in this moment, right? We're not trying, I mean, yes, there is survival of paying your bills, staying in your home, not to still have heat. And I remember we had a conversation with Antje here in December where she ran out of heat. She didn't have heat for some time, and it's a survival mode that we're going in. But how bad is it really for us today to be in a home that is cold? We just got to use a few more blankets, maybe do some exercise, like we have more resources today to not feel this way. Yes, when it comes to finances, it's a different story, and yet there are many resources and we can run back. And that's a different conversation that we can have another time, because I don't talk finances here. Anyhow, before I talk way too much, I want to invite my dear guests here and just see what are they trusting in, and also where would they wish to have more trust in? Where is their survival brain coming in, spreading the fear, spreading uncertainty, and telling them like, hold on, you can't trust this, you can't believe them, you can't do this. And yeah, anyhow, so welcome everyone. Diana, Swati, thank you for being here.
So I guess I can start. So I think for me, I am venturing out in my new profession, in my new learnings. And I used to be a jewelry designer, and I was from a gemology design background. And I've completely flipped 360 degrees, and I've entered health and wellness. And I think the fear that comes is, how do I make this sustainable? Because I'm starting again at 34, and I have very limited experience in it. But the trust that also comes in is because when you sit, and when I sit in meditation and I reflect and I think, what really arises is that I'm going in the right direction. My gut and my instincts are so aligned, and it just feels peaceful. It doesn't feel like work. It feels like second nature, and I know that this is the right thing. So what I can do, right? I can just surrender to it, and I can let the cosmos, come into play, and we work in conjunction, because that's all I can do. Because if I try to control it and resist it, then I'm just bringing in a lot of friction, and then I'm going to go into the survival mode again. There's going to be fear and uncertainty, and probably I'll also reduce my effectiveness. So I think that's where I am right now. I'm also working on a lot of herbal tea blends, which is a new area for me. I don't have any professional tea experience, but I'm still doing it because it feels right. So I think that's pretty much what I wanted to share. This is where I'm starting. Thank you.
Thank you, Swati. So I will, can I take it? Yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
Upon what Swati is saying, for me, it's also the career part for a moment. And yes, as we talked 2 weeks ago, my fear of, success and failure, and also when we were talking about trusting. For me, I mean, I was always used to plan and control and have a vision and move towards the vision. There was no trust there. I was trusting in my own work and in my own abilities to do things, but I didn't trust that, universe would help me or something. I thought that I need to do everything myself, and if I miss something, it will be my fault, and I'm a failure. Maybe that's why you realize why I burned out twice. But I mean, so for me, the trusting part is actually still a bit hard, especially when it comes to work. and my career. So I mean, I'm still on the path, and I was like thinking still, should I work with people because I want to help people to feel better, because I've during my journey gathered so many things that I can, you know, assist people, and that really helps against depression and burnout. But there is still that fear, and so there's also this fear and one of, you know, not succeeding, and that would be too much job and stuff like that. And then there's another one. So I was like thinking, choosing that or going back to work at school with kids that feels meaningful, but I have a secure income, which I would love to have as well. So I'm standing there, and it didn't really feel right to apply to schools, but I kind of pushed through and did it, and nothing happened. And somehow I think I need to trust that when time will come, it will come. I don't have to push all the time, because it doesn't feel right. Like Swati was telling in the body, it doesn't feel right anymore. Before that, I ignored my body, but now it doesn't really feel right. And I said 2 weeks ago that I was afraid that I will not be needed. And then suddenly my husband's grandmother died, just suddenly, unexpectedly. And the grandfather, who is very weak, he actually needed us. So I was needed. And in that period of that week, it wouldn't be good if I was working somewhere, because then I wouldn't be able to be there for him. And, you know, so I need to learn to trust the life. I need to learn to trust that it will show me the path, and that I'm going on the right path, and also to trust my body and my instincts. That I'm still actually working on. Sometimes it's well, but sometimes it goes down and I doubt myself. So, yeah.
Beautiful sharing of both of you. And it's reality, right? I mean, if we could live without those worries, and like if we haven't been experiencing that other part, right? If we never really were like not necessarily depending, but if we didn't have a job that was supporting us financially to be, you know, to survive in this environment that we're in society, and by, you know, having to purchase food and clothes and a home, and just to have these basics to us, right? Like we can't live without a financial income in the world that we're living. Yes, we could be joining a monastery. We could do that. It's a different kind of living. And yet they do too struggle with them, right? They are depending on donations. They're depending on other parts. And of course, there is some sustainability that they can create, that we could create as well, by having our own garden, by having this. But there is a time that we need these finances supporting us. It kind of has this confidence that we attach to it. It kind of gives us the sense of wholeness in a way, which is crazy. To me, it has been really interesting, because we all know in here, at least the ones that are sharing the space with me, is that money is energy. And so that thinking of it, I mean, in the end, we're looking at a piece of paper that we make value of. Why can't I make value of drinking a tea, or breathing, as Diana does with her swimming in the cold? By the way, I did this trust exercise this morning. I stepped into snow with my bare feet for I don't know how many seconds. It didn't last. The video was a minute, so I think I did it for maybe 30 seconds at most. I'll do it again tomorrow, maybe later today. No, maybe tomorrow morning. I'll do it tomorrow. It's really, that's the same thing. Like, it's that trust, right? And I agree with both of you. It's like we need to listen to our bodies, because it's kind of like, you know, yesterday I had this, I was in my peer group meeting, and we had a gentleman who was presenting a talk around breath, which really ties into everything that we're talking about. And what's so interesting is he had this story about when he was at a retreat, that someone had to go to the bathroom multiple times a day, and usually she never had to go to the bathroom that often. And the teachings of that was that because now she's allowing to breathe. She's not holding her breath. And I know Diana talked a lot about this experience from noticing how holding on to a breath and then releasing it really shifted her awareness around work. And what I really found so interesting and fascinating about that story was that we don't allow ourselves to breathe in our everyday. And that is a part of trust. Because what we're doing by holding our breath is we're worried we're wasting time. We're worried to take a breath. We have fear that we're not finishing the work. We're holding on so tightly to our breath because we want to be successful. We want to accomplish. We want all these things, when in the end, we already have it. You can't be anywhere but here. And me too. I just had these thoughts last night, and even this morning I was writing down about this practicum that I'm holding. It's free. It's about mindfulness. It's an introduction. It's 6 weeks. I know it's a commitment. And yet I think I have 2 people for each course signed up. And I've been posting in different places. I've been reaching out at different places. And there is this fear, this worry coming up. It's like, am I going to have the minimum of 6 people that is required for me to hold this course, right? What else can I do? And so all I have to do is keep talking about it, keep reaching out individually to people that come to mind that I think are worthy to join my course, to be there with me. I chose this time because if you can watch now, if you can be here with me now, you can join my course because it's at this time. So there won't be any sharing with heart live from March 2nd through April 6th, FYI. So we're going to have a few more in February, and then we'll be back in April. And so these are my fears, right? And so I have to just trust that I know that people will be showing up. They will be coming to joining my course. In the end, if it's not going to happen, if there's only going to be those 2, I will still hold that course and I will have to do another one because that is the requirement, which just means more practice. And so it's really a question of how looking at it. And I don't want to hold back on a beautiful gift that I got this week, because that is another piece that allows us to trust. So this part of breath, taking a breath, allowing the breath to be, not holding on to it, really sensing our entire body is dedicated to dear Diana. And this piece is dedicated to my dear friend Swati, because she has sent me a don't worry basket. This don't worry basket is truly to trust, to really believe that you can do this. You know, I mean, it's not, I'm not really as much of a worrier person, and yet we all do, right? I mean, I was just thinking about judgment, which is another time in the future. It just creeps up on you, and it's the awareness that we need. So anyhow, so I got this don't worry basket on Monday. We did a live. So if you want to really see how this reveal happened between Swati and I, go watch it on Instagram. We have it there. But I got this in a, it's supposed to be in a basket, but I live further away. So we had to do it in little crates. So one just fell down, but there are these cute little crates. Let me just get the other pieces. Just put that here. Oh no, just stepped on this girl. Oh my goodness. She fell down. Anyway, but she's the don't worry, the worry doll to take away my worries. So that was in here. Anyway, so these were these little goodies that were in there. There was like an morning tea, which means take time for yourself in the morning to drink a tea, as well as in the afternoon and in the evening, to really just be in the present moment, to trust yourself, right? Then there was this little doll that I'll bring into, I haven't brought her yet because I haven't done this actual ritual that she asked me to do, where you read this beautiful poem that she wrote through my consciousness, through her as the, what do you call it? What are you, the?
I'm like a messenger or a portal.
There you go. Where she wrote incredible message that related to our meditation session last week, and it's been the message ever since. Actually, we every single time we had a meditation since Martin Luther King's Day has been about a cocoon and the butterfly. So more to that another time. And so with this doll, I'm going to read that again with a tea and tell her my worries. Now that I know what my worry is, I have something to tell her, because I guess before that I had nothing to think about besides until yesterday. And she also gave me in this basket, there was also a journal, The Wisdom of Rumi. And yesterday I went through it. And the one thing I found that is really, I don't know if you will resonate with it. I resonated with it because there are a lot of things in our lives that we pick up along the way. We think we need it, and we might have actually don't. It's like clothing. You buy it, you notice that you don't like it, and then it's just sitting there, either because it didn't fit, whatever, right? So we just got to let it go. We just got to put it away, make space, create room. That's what I hear when I hear trust. So the one thing I found in this beautiful book that I want to share today is titled by I Don't Need. I don't need a companion who is nasty, sad, and sour. The one who is like a grave, dark, depressing, and bitter. A sweetheart is a mirror, a friend, a delicious cake. It isn't worth spending an hour with anyone else. A companion who is in love only with the self has 5 distinct characters. Stone-hearted, unsure of every step, lazy and disinterested, keeping a poisonous face. The more this companion waits around, the more bitter everything will get, just like vinegar, getting more sour with time. Enough is said about sour and bitter faces. A heart filled with desire for sweetness and tender souls must not waste itself with unsavory matters. So I picked this one for something else yesterday, and I realized that that's actually ourselves, that sometimes we're bitter and sour, and we are that companion. And we gotta trust to let go of that part of us as we're moving through. I know when we talk about Ayurveda, we should have all those flavors in our meals, yet it doesn't mean we have to show up in that way. I think it's to enhance that side. I mean, that's just me interpreting in some way. Anyway, and so I really wanted to address that we have to bring awareness to those sour and bitter pieces in us that make us bring up fear, uncertainty, and all these other parts like judgment, resistance, because that are the parts of stone-hearted, unsure of every step, which is uncertainty, lazy and disinterested, which becomes boredom, and keeping a poisonous face is like really putting all these ideas that are not supporting us. So we got to let go of them and trust that there is a piece in us that is sweet and tender, that is just like a cake, that is just so sweet to be with. And that's what we want to see. That's the beauty of colors, the flowers, all those sweet things in our lives, and to invite them to us. So what is coming up for you? I have now shared a bunch, especially because I couldn't hold back from this beautiful Don't Worry basket, and also talk about the breath, how we holding it in. But now I'm sure you all have something to share. Diana, go ahead.
Hello. Yes. Well, you talk about breath, I'm always willing to share. No, it's funny that you mentioned, and it's beautiful baskets, Svante. It sounds amazing and so smart. The worry doll, that was amazing. I think I would need that for a moment, actually. Yeah, the holding part of breath. Thank you for reminding me of that, because I usually really held my breath when I'm worried, and I think last weeks I've been in a worry mode quite a lot, to be honest, for the grandpa and for us and for my future and what's happening with our life and so on. So thank you for this reminder to breathe again, because I remember I didn't go for a cold swim for a few weeks due to that we were locked down by COVID and stuff like that, and then this the grandma and grandpa happened. So 2 days ago, I was at 2 days ago, I think I went to swim for the first time for weeks in the cold water, and I just could do one thing: just be there, just focus, be in nature and breathe. And that day was so much brighter, so much joyful, and I could enjoy, everyday life, and I laughed, and I had this joyful energy. And you just helped me to remind myself that I need to do that again more this week, just because we are going, as you said, we have this bitter and sad place in ourselves as well. And many years I was trying to avoid that part. It doesn't work. We need to see that part, to acknowledge it, not avoid it, because if you avoid it, it just grows and gets bigger. So I think sometimes I try to avoid it because I've grown so much and I've learned so much, and I don't want to, and I know how not to trust my thoughts and stuff like that. So then these, you might say, more negative parts of myself come up. I kind of feel ashamed, and I feel that I maybe failed, and then somehow I get back to my old behaviors in those moments. And it's a great reminder to come back to the now, don't worry so much for the future, and breathe and remember that, and trust that everything will be as it's supposed to be. Because if I look back at my journey, I'm not bitter about that. I'm happy because I learned so much, and I need to trust that the rest of my life will be the same as well. And so thank you for that reminder, and that my not so nice companion, I need to acknowledge it, and I understand that it's not so strange that it's there for a moment, because it's been a hard time for my family. So these all negative things come up, but also breathe through it and trust. So thank you.
Thank you, Diana, for sharing that. And I think I can kind of relate a little to what you were saying. When these negative thoughts arise, what do you do? So if you like avoid them, or if you ignore them, that doesn't work. And so you acknowledge them, you accept them, you sit with them, but at the same time, you think of not what I don't have, but you think of what I have and what have I done. And then you start seeing this, like you were talking about this morning, I had this headache, and I'm visualizing the color of my headache, and then you counter it with the color I like, and you make that color flow. So you make sure those thoughts flow, the good thoughts flow, and then, the negative thoughts, the sticky thoughts, they'll be a part of that. And I think for me, I can just share a little bit. Yesterday, I was very overwhelmed with all the work I had, and I could see that in my work. So I was trying to create a new tea blend, and I'm doing this tea tasting, but I'm all over the place because I'm not present. And I am thinking of, I need to write that scroll. I need to make that basket. She didn't pay. I need to follow up. This person needs to review. So all that. And I'm like, am I sipping my tea? What am I creating? So actually, I wasn't able to come to a conclusion with that tea tasting because it just didn't feel right. And I work very hard with my tea blends and my work, and I'm very honest with my work, very authentic. So if it doesn't feel right, I will not pass it just because we are in that timeline. So I was like, okay, I'll revisit it again. So I'm just trying to ground myself a little more today because I could tell there's a lot of movement in my headspace yesterday. So today is all about grounding. I mean, I know I have work, but after this call, I'm going to step out and take a walk. I've already sipped my tea, and I think that that should bring some grounding energy. Also, to add to this piece, me and my husband, we've been working a little with our relationships and a therapist. We are very different in terms of interests and how we connect with each other. So we just wanted to kind of be on the same page or find things that are common to us. So I could tell that I have this sorrow that he does not share certain things with me. So I had to eventually give up those things. For example, a lot of outdoor stuff like hiking and picnics, etc. And but at the same time, I was able to reflect on things that this marriage offers me that enable me to be free, and that is powerful. And I think we were also talking about timing. There's always a right timing for everything. We just have to trust. So I just wanted to share that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Swati. And you cannot believe what you just shared, how much meaning this just had for someone else. That's all I say. Anyway, I think it is so important to really get in touch with ourselves and really become aware of the things that we want and we don't want. But I really want to address what is the most important, which both of you touched on, which I also brought in at the beginning, is that focus on what we have, not only the materialistic things, the physical things, the breath that we have, the beautiful mind that we have, including all those thoughts that are judgmental, that are fearful, that are not trustworthy, that are just trying to challenge us, because that's what it is in the end. We are our own challenge on this path. You know, if I think about it, is we have these thoughts for a reason. They don't just show up to just make our lives miserable. We have these difficult thoughts, these challenging thoughts, these so-called negative thoughts as part of the things that happen to us, with us, around us. And they are helping us to open our eyes inwardly to see, because everything, and you said it so beautifully, Swati, it's like everything changes into something different, right? Like, and I think you touched on this too, Diana. It's like once you notice that there is something negative happening, something that is holding us back, something that is making us be stuck in something, and if we're willing to, and we're looking into it and noticing that's just, it just is, right? It's not something that we are. We are not our feelings, we're not our thoughts, we are not anything. Because if I say I'm fearful of snakes, I could say I'm not fearful of snakes. It's a choice I make. The same thing is trust. Trust is a choice we make. And so with that story that came up for me yesterday when I was listening to the people about how our thoughts are wired, our brain is wired to negative thoughts, it's for us to take action on those thoughts, to change them into something positive, and consciously change them into something positive. That's our task. And the only thing that is happening for us, what we are here to do in this moment, is taking action. It's the right action. It's the action that moves us forward, that lets us that gives us the ability to let go, to detach, to notice where am I paying attention to. So for me, I have this course happening. There are these things happening that I want to succeed, and yet I am enjoying every step right now in just talking about awareness, remembering, mindfulness. This is what I live for, right? As much as Swati lives for Ayurveda, as much as Diana lives for breathing, this is the path we chose. And there is something for that. There will be a receiver for that. And the giving and the receiving in the middle is trust. We cannot force someone to receive this. We cannot force to give it to someone. We have to trust and let go and let it be received. Let it be given. Because if we step into this person, into this bodily being we are right now, which will dissolve, which will get hurt, which will change, we be able to move through it and accept things for what they are and not what we think it should be.
Oh, that was so beautiful, Raditya. I think you touched on a very beautiful thing, that how our body and our minds, we are changing every second, every millisecond. And, I just, when you talked about success and failure, what's coming to my mind is, as a new business, I'm always looking at how many Instagram followers did I get today? This is not working. She has 2,000. She has 20,000. I have 160 something. This is totally not working. Maybe there's something wrong with my work or what I'm doing or what I'm offering. But I like what you said. It's so powerful that when when the right receiver is there, they'll receive it, and it's the right timing. And yeah, I think like we said, the word trust, we just have to trust that it's working and it's effective and it's happening, because it's not like I'm lazing out and not thinking about it. But will it help if I constantly think about it and be in my head? Probably not. So I just have to surrender at some point. So yeah. And also when you said we are our own challenge, I was almost thinking like, what is my goal, right? Probably my goal is to get a sustainable tea meditation practice, to get a good Ayurvedic practice, like maybe 5 patients, 10 patients a week or something like that. And then what? Am I going to stop there? Probably I'll be like, I need 15. I need more followers on that Instagram. It's not going to stop. It's going to perpetuate. So what am I racing against? Question, reflection.
Swati, I can't tell you how amazing the sharing was, because we all do it. We all do it, right? And I do realize the same things as you said. And you know what I learned from it as I listened to you is that we have to practice what we preach. We cannot do the same thing that everybody else is doing. And this is why I only have 331 followers. Why do I know this number, right? The only reason I know this is because I'm checking. And yet it is something. And the thing is, what I noticed is it's this thing that is placed in our lives that's called social media, that is called technology, that is placing a piece in our brain that's telling us, oh, you got to check that one. Have you checked today? Have you checked everything? Like every single one of them? Facebook, Instagram thing? Like it's just something that it's a to-do list on your brain, right? Because we started this habit. And again, like you said, this habit It's defeating the purpose of what we're teaching. And so for me, I used to really watch reels for 15, 20 minutes, right? And I was just saying to myself that it's not worth it. And I actually noticed how I stopped checking it. I stopped looking at them. I just create my own. When I come up with something fun, I'll just do it. If I want to dance, I'll do it. Because that's what I just love doing them. And so when you do something that you really love doing, then it will be received. And it doesn't matter if it's just your friends who are going to like it, because that just shows that they're here to support you. And in the end, all I can hear is also these beautiful teachings of mindfulness. This is the life we're living. And yet, this is the body that we have. And we make these choices. That's all I'm going to say. But before I have Diana chime in, Rudy is here with us today. Thank you. And she's saying it's all about timing. Believe in your craft and forge ahead. Your success will follow. Failure does not define you. It only propels you forward. It's all about perspective. And yes, Rudy, you are so right. Thank you for sharing this. Diana, please.
I just have to agree with Regina. Like, that's so beautifully said, because that's what I wanted to say to Swati when you were talking about, we have to trust and keep moving, as you also said, Raditya, because I mean, it's so funny because I have all these ideas and wants of what I want to do and how I want to help people, because I know I have that so much knowledge, but it's always, of all the things that I do, it's always the cold bath and breathing that people are reacting to. And that's the least hard thing on me, actually, because I really do it because I really enjoy it and I have this benefit. So for me, it's not hard work to put it up, while I also want to help people with other, steps from burnout and depression. And I was working on that course and that I got stuck on that. I love it, but it needs more of the work. It needs more of the pressure for myself. And since the burnouts, I kind of resisting the pressure. I don't want to put too much pressure on myself because my whole body is reacting as a stress reaction. So yes, we need to listen to the body, but it's just reflection, the trust that probably the things that are coming easiest for me are the things I should, choose to follow, rather than my knowledge says, but you can do so much more. You can do this and you can do that, and you can help parents with conscious parenting, which I also love, and it comes easily. But I need more help there. I can't do everything alone then. I can't create the whole course, not for a moment, but I can move towards it. I can speak openly about these things to people, and who knows, maybe someone will one day contact me and I will do things. I never know, but I need to take steps and move forward instead of sitting alone in my head and fearing and thinking about it and, just discussing in my own head without showing up and showing people what, I have. So there might come something out of it. So yes, so thank you for this reminder. Yeah, it's beautiful. Yes, trust. Yes, need to focus on the trust. So thank you.
Yeah, and it's really interesting because especially when it comes to these social medias and and so just Ruchiti said, hey ladies, and so yes, as Swati was also mentioning about the confirmation from the outside. And the funny thing about that is that nothing on the outside will make us be successful. Because if we don't believe inside, which I don't think we're not, it's just that it's nice to have, right? It's a nice to have. So, but it all has to come from us. Because if I tell you look pretty and you don't believe that you look pretty, my comment has zero value. Zero. If I tell you you're doing amazing, I love what you do, if you don't believe it, it has no value. So you are the value. You are the one that has to believe that you are the most beautiful, most amazing person on earth that succeeds in anything they do. Because if you don't, who will? And if you send this out, because I noticed that a lot of people want to get people by telling them all the things that they're not good at. And then people will come. And to me, it's not the right message, because we're not trusting that there is something inside of me. And so that's where it becomes more difficult for the work that we do, because we are telling people to trust, and that's not something that our survival brain is teaching us. So it is our skills that we need to keep being at it. And the one thing with success and failure that I think I mentioned it to Diana separately, but it's about when we're taking these steps forward and we know we're in the right directions, there will be moments of defeat. There will be moments of setbacks. There will be moments that we don't know where to go. It feels like we went 10 steps back. But we actually just took some steps back where we were certain, where we were confident, where we were comfortable, and we were able to get a new perspective of where we are comfortable, to notice which other direction do I need to go next? What are the parts between these 2 steps forward and 10 steps back, these 8 steps in between? Where on these 8 steps didn't do exactly what I actually thought I should or wanted to do? Or what is there that I could have gone a different way? And that's our opportunity to take a new direction and trust that these 8 steps back were actually only to guide us in the right direction. Because otherwise, if we keep going and forcing us to keep going, like, no, I don't take this failure, I'm going to keep pressing the button into this direction, we're going to end up 10 years down the line, the wrong direction. And we'll be like, why did nobody tell me? When you actually got the information ahead of time, but you didn't listen to your body, to your breath, to the inside world. And this is pretty much my conclusion of today's conversation, to let you know that you got the gift of trust in you. There is nothing outside of you that will give you more trust than yourself. You have to practice and remind yourself that you can trust yourself every step along the way. Thank you. And here is your turn now to bring up the last few thoughts you have, the last few things you want to share, anything.
Thank you, Radhika and Diana, for such a beautiful session and talk. So the word that's arising for me is effortless. So if it's effortless, there is no option but to trust in it, because it is the right direction. And I think I can kind of track back to my story of my career. My career was not chosen by me, my path. It was chosen by my parents initially. They thought I am very creative, so I'll be great in design. And so they picked a college for me, one of the top colleges in India, design colleges for jewelry design. And I did great, but it just didn't feel right. And I swear I spent 10 years there, and I know how it feels to be stuck in a place where I have all these skills. I just don't know how to offer it because it doesn't feel right. That's when I decided to switch paths, and here I am in health and wellness. And I can swear that I've had this conversation as a teen with my parents that I think I would be good as when I talk to people, I will be good connecting with people. And I always had this vision that there will be a platform where I'll be speaking and there'll be people listening because I have something to offer that they and they have and they receive it well, and I've always had this vision, and I hope that it's coming true. I can feel it in my bones that this is the right place. I am in the right place now. And it's just taken long. So I think when someone makes those decisions for you, uh, maybe I should have stepped up that time and listened to my instincts. I'm so grateful that they are still on, because after 10 years, I was able to find the right thing, but it's taken me 10 years, and it was a lot of suffering in between. So just wanted to share that. Thank you.
Thank you, Swati. I hear you. I totally can relate, as you all know my stories. For me, actually, no one chose for me, but my unconscious mind did. My beliefs and programming and experiences in life, I thought I chose for myself, but why I didn't. I chose unconsciously things that I thought that would make me happy, as Radhika said. And yes, it's very painful to walk the wrong path and realize that's not your life you're living. And that's when I got into depression after burnouts, and because my body said no. So I think for me, that's so I ignored my body for so many years. So for me, I need to learn to trust it again. And it's been hard because I've had this very strong mind of mine and the old beliefs that I've worked so hard. So just thank you both ladies for reminding of this, trusting your body, trusting trusting that life will show your way. And we, as long as we keep breathing and just remind ourselves and be grateful for the things that we really, really, truly have, because we do. And not let our minds go way too far in the future of wanting and wanting and wanting a lot. Bring us back to the now. It's good to have visions, but maybe not too crazy ones, maybe. I mean, it's good if you are frustrated by your visions, maybe it's a bit too vague. Maybe you have to go back to now and listen to your body and see, is it really your vision, or are you influenced by someone else? Because in my case, I was easily influenced by my surroundings, and for me, it's always going back to myself, centering and listening inwards. And I need to remind it for myself as well, especially when times are a bit tough in the family. So the grief and loss and stuff like that. So I'm just thankful for this reminder. I really needed this week. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And yeah, so Swati sharing with us, suffering is not permanent. It always leads to another opportunity for different choice you can make. And that is so true. And I don't want to forget, we have Ruji D or Rudy, that is sharing with us some of her insights. And it started way back when I was talking about, we are our own challenge. Right on, it starts with you, it ends with you. Failure should never define you. He is there to help you grow and push forward to improve your methods, techniques, redefinition, etc. She said, bravo to Swati's part, where you just discovered this part and it's made you stronger, Swati. I can completely relate. Stay strong and believe in yourself no matter what. That goes for all of you ladies. So thank you, Rujdi, for being here and supporting us in this conversation. And I also want to add to what you are saying, Diana. It is super, super difficult to just trust ourselves and follow our path. There are lots of voices happening, not just our internal voice. There's a lot of people around us in our voices. And, Swati, I totally can see when you are a teenager and your parents, they only want the best for us. Our parents only know what they know. They brought us on a path that was really a good opportunity for us to learn new things. And yet, at some point, we can come out of that cocoon and we can become that butterfly, because if we trust what we have inside of us, all those teachings that we're learning along the way will enhance what we are right now. Exactly. It brings us together. It makes us whole. And if we wouldn't be who we are today, just because I would have found the way I do mindfulness today 10 years ago. Well, actually, it was 10 years ago, but like 30 years ago, where some people went to their retreats for 2 years and God knows what else, right? Where they discovered these things, doesn't mean that how we discovered it is less worthy. It doesn't mean that the way we discover our true path as being less as other people's. And that's where this comparison just has to be on the sideline, not the main character. We are the main character. We can make those choices. And again, as we all have said along this hour, is like it's us to trust. It's in us, and there's nobody else that can make us believe something else. We are believing in this. And I just want to leave you with a funny thing that I learned from Gabor Mate in his Wisdom of Trauma video. If you haven't not watched it yet, it's really good. The only thing that is really funny is there was a person he was talking with who was saying that her husband, I think, was saying that she's a monster and this and that. And so Gabor Mate was asking her, so if I told you you had green hair, would you believe it? What would you say? And she would say, I would say you're crazy. It's like, all right, so what if I tell you you're a monster? So she said nothing. So this is exactly what we should do with our outside, from the outside voices. And then also think about our inside voices. Do we really believe that that's true? That what we're saying or what's being said about us? If not, trust yourself. The trust is in us. So sharing with heart, thank you very much. You'll find out next time when this is going to happen. It's on Facebook, Instagram. I will notify any one of you, because the people even here with me don't know when the next time is, including myself. It was my pleasure. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And yes, for till